Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99.
This is the 49er Faithful UK show, and this is week 14. We're back out of the snow and in sunny Santa Clara to face the 4-8 Chicago Bears. Any hope of the postseason means that losing this one is not an option. We drop to 5-8, and the playoff chances fall from a measly 10 at present to a feeble 3%. Win, we go 6-7, and then week 15 and Thursday night against the Rams suddenly becomes massive. I'm Gareth Ellis, and I'm joined by Paul Hope.
What's up, Faithful?
And Lee Gowland.
All right, fellas.
Apologies from Nadgy. He's once again busy, and we're recording on a Friday. It's that time of year, Christmas disruption. We might be a bit out of rhythm for the next few weeks, so do bear with us. Lee, you've got your Histo Lee corner, and you were promised it will be a short one. I'm intrigued.
I did. Okay, so there's been 69 games in total. The 49ers lead the series 35-33 and one tie. That tie came on the 13th of November 1966, and it was quite a high-scoring tie, to be honest. It was 30-30. There's been 8 shutouts, 6 by the Niners and 2 by the Bears. The last 8 games have an alternated winning team, with the 49ers due a win in that sequence. So fingers crossed. Technically, there has been 3 50 burgers. 2 of them were for the Niners and 1 for the Bears. However, the Bears actually put up 61 points at home against the 49ers in 1965. But earlier on that season, the 49ers beat the Bears 52-24 at Kezar. So we had 2 50 burgers in back-to-back games, and then the very next game, which was the next season, was the tie at 30-30. Unbelievable. Both teams have been restricted to under 10 points on 12 different occasions. The biggest win streak is 6, and that's owned by the Niners, and that was from 1969 to 1975. The Bears' biggest win streak is 3, most recently achieved between 2004 and 2006. They've done that on 3 different occasions, but the other 2 were before 65, 64, so it's quite early on in the rivalry. The teams have met 3 times in the postseason, twice in the NFC Championship game, where the 49ers restricted the Bears to a total of 3 points in those NFC Championship games. That's between 2 games, the restricted 3 points. One of those was the shutout. The 49ers have gone on to win the Super Bowl after each playoff encounter with the Bears. That is your History Corner. Nice and short.
Thank you, Lee. That was interesting there. I'm not sure. Don't think we're going to be facing the Bears in the postseason this year. So maybe that route to the Super Bowl via the Bears is not going to happen this year. That's my bold prediction.
Interestingly, when we make it to the playoffs after we've won the West on the last game of the season, there's a very good chance that we will be matched against the Minnesota Vikings at Levi's. Mm. So it'll be the second Gowland Bowl of the season.
Wow. We seem to have been playing the Bears quite a lot recently. I think just that cycle of finishing in the same position or the cycle of the divisions. The Bears seem to have been a common opponent over certainly the Shanahan era. I think there's probably only been a couple of years we haven't played them.
So you're right about that. There has been quite a few over the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gareth.
And like I said, sorry, Paul. Like I said, they've actually alternated between winning teams. One game we win, one game they win, and it's our turn this time. So I just hope the Chicago Bears realise that it's our turn to win.
Was the last one that week 1 get together in the rain? Trey Lance's first start. Was that the last time we played the Bears?
It is, yes.
2 seasons ago?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so lost that one. So yeah, we do owe them one. Shall we let's look at the injury report. Shall we start with the Bears? Because the Bears, it's that time of the season. The Bears are a little bit banged up as well. Not practicing currently this week. Offensive tackle Ryan Bates, safety Elijah Hicks, running back 2 Rashawn Johnson is in concussion protocol, not practicing by Friday. Or Thursday. He's probably unlikely to play. Wide receiver DJ Moore and RB1 DeAndre Swift, neither practicing. Potentially some big misses there for the Chicago Bears. We'll discuss that a little bit more, I think, when we look at the Bears offense. The Niners injury report. We're going to try and keep this short. So still not practicing. Bosa, Williams, Banks. We know Mason's done for the season. We know CMC has gone on IR. George Odom has also not been practicing. He seems to have picked something up. But let's look at something a little bit more positive. Some people who will be back. Demo, full practice. Huff, I think limited practice, but there's a chance he plays. Some reinforcements for the defensive line. Jordan Elliott and Sammy OK. They're probably cleared to play, and I guess probably will. And finally, Dre Greenlaw. Practice window well and truly open. I don't think he can play this game, but I think it could look good for Thursday night.
Yeah, so I don't think Dre's actually participated in practice. I think he's been did not participate. I know his practice windows open.
Limited Wednesday, limited Thursday.
I've missed that then.
Yeah, John Lynch said that they're looking at Thursday Rams game. That was the game that they always had on the schedule. So when I was preparing for today, Gareth definitely saw he won't be there this week, but Lee could be back soon. Nadgy's favourite could be back.
Technically, he can play Sunday because we can activate him up to an hour before the game.
Yeah, true. I was just going off what Lynch said to, I think it was to KB, and they asked him and they said, no, it won't be this week.
Yeah, I'm referring more to what Gareth said about the fact we can't activate him this week. We can actually do it an hour before the game. We just have to basically drop somebody off the roster to make that roster spot.
Fantastic. That's good. Thanks for that, Lee. I don't think he'll play.
No, I don't think he'll play. Yeah, I think it'll be next Thursday against the Rams.
Keep him warm for the Rams. So there we go. There is the injury report. There's not much more to say. I'm sick of talking about our injury reports. I really am. Assuming Bosa and Williams are not playing either. Banks doesn't look like he's playing, but that's not too bad. I think Barch did okay. And to be honest, I think Jalen Moore did okay spotting for Williams as well. So shall we have a look at our opponents and their offense? And sadly, I'll have to keep talking because without Nadgy, I've been forced to do some homework and go through the Bears' offense, such as it is. New quarterback, the latest in the endless procession of first-round quarterback picks from the Bears over the last decade or so. Caleb Williams, not doing too badly. Started well, I think, had a little bit of more struggles. I think offensive coordinator was changed, wasn't it, before obviously the head coach changing that happened just after Thanksgiving, wasn't it, for their atrocious end to the Thanksgiving game. He's putting up figures that aren't actually dissimilar to Purdy, not comparing them as players, but 61% completions, 2,600 yards, 14 TDs to 5 interceptions. And I think he's on a decent run of about 3, possibly 4 games without throwing an interception. I think I picked up that Diomedor Lenore feels he might have something to say about that on Sunday night. So we'll look forward to that. He's getting there, I think. Jaden Daniels, I think, has taken away some of the shine, and Bo Nix from him being perhaps the best rookie quarterback this year. But there's certainly something there, and maybe the coaching changes, maybe a little bit difference in approach. He could continue to grow. So I think he's a guy who's going to be somebody we've got to watch for being a bit dangerous, particularly with his legs, as we know through bitter experience. It's one thing we have seemed to struggle with for years now, is containing that mobile quarterback. So it all starts with him, but he is aided by a very diverse, I think, receiving core. DJ Moore, on the injury list, but he is the favourite receiver. 663 yards and 5 TDs so far this season. But Keenan Allen, 440 yards, 5 TDs. Fellow rookie Roma Dunze, 543 yards and a TD. And supported by tight end Cole Kmet with 448 yards and 3 TDs. So he spread it around those 4 receivers more or less evenly. And that, to me, is a sign of a healthy offensive approach, perhaps, and a quarterback who trusts his receivers and is working through his progressions, and hasn't fixated and found the favourite that he goes to time and time again. The struggle, I think, with the Bears has been their O-line. They have not been able to keep the rookie quarterback up. I think they had 5 sacks last week, and that has been the story of the season. Is a complete shame that Bosa won't have a chance to feed against this offensive line, but that is probably their weak spot, and I think that shows up in the running game. DeAndre Swift, 5 TDs so far this season and under 4 yards per carry. And that's basically it. Caleb Williams has backed him up, almost 400 yards at 6.4 a carry from that mobile quarterback. But on the injury report, the support running back, Rashawn Johnson, 139 yards at under 3 yards per carry. So I think that shows you all you need to know about the Bears running game. That's pretty much it. The Bears aren't a team I've paid that much attention to this year, other than to point and laugh at a few things they've done on the coaching side. What else have you got on the offensive evaluation, Paul?
So,
go on, Lee. It's okay, go on, Lee.
So interestingly, over the last few weeks, they've actually refocused the offensive play call, and they're now running a lot more play action, bunch sets, and pre-snap motion, but they're also running the ball a lot more, and they tend to stick with that even when it's not working. So that's quite good news for our defense, obviously. This season, I mean, they're typically ranked in the bottom third. They've had problems with execution. They're not consistent in the passing game. They've struggled in pass protection. They've lacked explosive players. They've lacked efficiency in the run game. And they didn't run a blocking scheme to their offensive line strengths. That's right. So I'm just looking at my notes. They don't run a blocking scheme to their offensive line strengths. So they've got a blocking scheme, but it just doesn't work for them. They had too many pre-snap penalties and became very predictable in the play con. So much so that O.C. Brown has actually simplified the plays to reduce... you're not going to believe this, to reduce the number of reads that Williams has to a maximum of 2 reads. Sometimes 0 reads. He's just told to throw the ball to a receiver, whether he's open or not, which I find incredible. But this is to allow him to get the ball out of his hands quicker. And in doing this, they've actually managed to reduce his release time from 2.9 seconds to 2.4. So they've had a change of OC during the season. Previously under the old OC, who I think was somebody called Waldron, 2.9 seconds. That was his average release. And now Brown's come in, it's down to 2.4 seconds. And because of that, his completion percentage has actually increased from 51.7% to 77% in the games that he's played with Brown as the OC. So he's become more efficient in the passing game, purely getting the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. So you can kind of watch for quick slants, short passes. I think that's what they'll be doing as far as the passing game is concerned. And the run game, it's anybody's guess to where they're going to run there, because the blocking scheme isn't obviously working for them. And as you said, Swift's only had 5 touchdowns all season.
Thanks, Lee. You've shown me up by
it's a team
providing
effort.
a much more insightful review of the offense than I did. Thanks, Lee.
So I've got to say,
I ripped it off. Me like 2 minutes.
I ripped it off a Detroit Lions fan page.
I mean, to be fair, some of the things you said, Gareth, I mean, Lee's touched upon it. believe it or not, this will be Caleb Williams' third offensive coordinator and his second head coach within his first year. And Brown, who Lee's
Welcome to the
alluded to,
Bears.
Brown was brought in as the passing game coordinator. Then he was elevated to offensive coordinator, and now he's been elevated to interim head coach. And you mentioned his interception rate. He's got the NFL rookie record of 232 consecutive passes without an interception. But what was interesting, Gareth, is when he started, I think he had 4 interceptions over his first 3 starts, and the Bears fans were all thinking, oh, here we go. Is it just upgrade on Justin Fields? But like Lee said, they've simplified the play calling. Now, what's interesting, the Bears offense only scores on 32% of their drives, which is the 8th worst rate in the league. But in comparison to that, they don't turn the ball over, which is what you've alluded to. And we say on this show, Lee, mistake-free football, you don't turn the ball over. That's something I'm a little bit wary of because we haven't had a turnover since we picked off Geno Smith, where we started the season on fire. So it's something I'm worried about, chaps. What about you two?
Yeah, it's something we should try and go for. It doesn't necessarily seem to have translated for the Bears into wins, but obviously, as you've said, not turning the ball over is a very good place to start to get your offense going. Their offensive ranks, passing is 27th, receiving is 24th, first downs they're 30th, rushing yards 23rd, and points they're also 23rd. So as you said, they struggle to make it count, even though they're avoiding the mistakes. Maybe that's something our defense might be quite suited to. That idea of just slowing them down and letting them fail to get the yardage and forcing them to punt rather than aggressively going after and trying to take the picks. Because of course, forcing your opponents to punt is as good as a turnover, effectively.
Yeah, true. I like that. I mean, like we said, they are a struggling offense. They're in bottom 10, as you've said in most things. What I'd like to see, Gareth, defensively, I want something from Sorensen. We're on a horrible run at the moment. 9 red zone trips against us, 9 touchdowns. Defensively, I want us to stay in zone. I want us to try and disguise between the cover 3, cover 4. If not, like Lee said, Williams has had this playbook simplified. And we've seen what happens in the NFL. If you get the early screens, if you get the early disguises, the ball's out behind the line of scrimmage, that could cause us murders. DJ Moore was being paid. Keenan Allen's not a bad receiver. So we don't want to make it easy for them, but we need something from this defense this week. I know Hafanga's due back. Nadgy would probably have some bold predictions sprinkled in there, but we need to see something, don't we, Lee? Because I know you're not happy at the moment, boss, with our defensive play caller.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fact, Paul. That's a fact. That's never been hidden at all. I am not happy with Sorensen as DC. But I think it's a good opportunity to come back to Levi's after the last 2 weeks that we've had in pretty harsh conditions. I know it didn't particularly snow against Green Bay, but it was really cold. And it does affect you. It doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete or not. So there were tough conditions against 2 tough teams. We're coming back to Levi's. We're getting healthier. I think hopefully Shanahan's taken on board everything that's happened the last 3 weeks. I hope that's filtered down to the defensive coordinator. And like Paul said before, I hope we play a lot more zone because we've done that really well over the last 3 or 4 seasons. If we can go down that route and mix it up a little bit as well, then hopefully the Chicago Bears should be there for the taking because they're not a particularly good football team. I think first and foremost, if we can stop them running, I think that's more than half the battle. I think that's 2/3 of the battle. Stop them running the ball and make them throw. Because Demo's coming back. Ward is hopefully going to get back up to speed quite quickly. Ronaldo Green's been playing well. I like what the safeties have been doing, and the fact that we've got Winters starting with Fred Ward has got us excited. Jordan Reed coming back and Sam Okawanu coming back. I think that's huge for the defensive line, given the fact that we're missing Bosa. And Bosa is still questionable. They haven't ruled him out yet. As far as I'm aware, they haven't ruled him out yet. So there's the chance that he might play. I haven't heard any news to give us an idea either way. But like you said, if he does play, it's a perfect team to come in and make your comeback against. I'm saying comeback. He's only been on 2 games, but you know what I mean. I think there's going to be opportunities there to pressure the quarterback. Yitzhak Gross Matos, I can see him having a good game. I would like to see Leonard Floyd step up and start getting pressure. If that can happen, I'm going to stop the run. Then I think this could be a 2-score game for us at the end of the game, because we're not a bad football team. We haven't looked after the ball. We've made some errors. We've had some injuries, and we've had some. All I can say is dire coaching.
Yeah,
and hopefully we're going to get all that right, because, like you said, we have to win this game. If we're going to get to the playoffs, we have to win the West. It is still possible. I think if we lose, we end up being on a 2% chance of making the playoffs. And to be honest, if we win, it doesn't really go up that much. We go from 10% to 13%. But we have to keep on winning. And that's the thing. And believe it or not, this weekend, we really need the Cardinals to beat Seattle. So I'm still of the opinion we can do this. We can get to the playoffs. And once you get the playoffs, it's a whole new season. And we see where we go from there. And it all starts on Sunday night by stopping the Bears' run game.
I was going to say, Lee, before you give your thoughts, Gareth, one thing that I am worried about this Bears offense over the last 3 weeks, they've got an 83% conversion rate in the red zone. And over the season, they're tied for 3rd in the red zone touchdown percentage with Tampa Bay and Buffalo. So over this 3-week stretch, he's been really good in the red zone at finding Keenan Allen, JJ Moore. Now, why I'm worried, and people think, hang on, Gowland and Hope have switched positions. Our red zone defence is the worst red zone ranking defence since tracking began in 1999. And that is courtesy of John Chapman, and he knows more than me. So he put a tweet out, Lee, about how historically bad is this 49ers defence. Now, I'm not going to read it all out, people, because it'll give you nightmares. But it's safe to say, Gareth, we need our red zone defence to be at the top of its game. And even then, this Bears offense is playing a lot better in the red zone. So it is something to keep an eye on Sunday, folks.
Well, ideally, what we need is not to allow the Bears to get into the red zone.
That is what we need. That is a good tactic, yeah.
Yeah, I think it starts with that, but I think it is. There's going to be pressure on our secondary. It'll be great to see if Huff is back. I think Demo should be back and up to full speed. He said he was very, very close to playing in Buffalo, and didn't quite make the required to actually start in that game. I think he's going to be hungry. He has obviously just been paid. It's a good chance. Rookie quarterbacks, good. Well, there we are. A good defensive coordinator should be able to get him confused about where he's going with the ball, and get them in the positions of being 3rd and long, and confused. That's where you've got a good opportunity to turn the ball over. But it doesn't look like in recent weeks anyone has actually been able to do that, and that would be my concern. That although we seem to have got some guys back on defense, they've got to be given the right game plan, and they've got to be able to. It was nice to see some blitzes. I think that's something that obviously you can do to just unsettle a rookie quarterback, particularly early in the game. If you start doing it, then they're always going to expect it on the lineups, and that's obviously when you can start dropping back into coverage, and a rookie quarterback starts to lose track of that linebacker or safety, and starts to put the ball in harm's way. I wish I could feel more positive about this, but it's going to be the new coach bounce as well. I think it's going to be a bad time.
That, Gareth.
Bad time to play the Bears.
Oh man, I was hoping we wouldn't have to read it out. But over the last 10 seasons, teams with an interim head coach are 13-11 in their first game as a head coach. Now, obviously, it's not that great, but equally, I was like, oh man. Now they are 0-5 on the road at the moment, the Bears, and a lot of people, Lee, are pointing to their 4-8 record. But if you cast your mind over the season, they've lost 3 games this year in the last second of the game. There's the Hail Mary against Washington, which was hilarious to watch. There was a blocked field goal against the Packers, and then there was the infamous play call, which cost the head coach's job, where he didn't take the time out. So we've talked on this show about the Niners could be sat at, a winning record. You could argue the Bears could be as well, Gareth. And I just wanted to come into this one, not kind of being all upbeat and positive that, it's just the Bears coming into town. And I've approached this a bit more pragmatic, because when you look at it, they're actually playing some decent football in spurts. It's just the luck of the draw with the NFL sometimes.
I think they haven't been able to get the points that perhaps some of their play has deserved. That red zone stat is impressive. Certainly it's better than ours. But maybe that sets us up nicely to look at the defense when Lee's finished talking about the offense.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we're lucky because it's just the Bears that are coming into Levi's on Sunday.
I like that positive.
Why is that lucky?
Because Paul's just mentioned you don't want to take them for granted. It's not just the Bears. Yeah.
Let's flip it over. Let's look at that defensive side, because I think it's the defense that has been keeping them in those games, and the offense hasn't been able to execute and take advantage. This is yours, isn't it, Paul?
It is, yeah. They
Homework,
do have a stout defence. So through 13 weeks on the season, chaps, they've allowed 20 points per game.
Do you want to swap the graphic for people watching?
There
we
go. Yeah. The last 3 weeks, that's jumped up slightly to 24.3 points per game. What was interesting is entering Thanksgiving, opponents had averaged 134 rushing yards per game, or 4.8 yards per carry. But then the Lions came to town and rushed for 194 yards, averaged 5.9 yards per carry in that 23-20 win. But when I was preparing for today, everybody, what's more worrying is the issues they're having on the run game is starting to affect the passing defence, which had been considered one of the better units in the league. During this losing streak that they're on at the moment, I've already alluded to that the Hail Mary they've conceded. They conceded a 53-yard touchdown a second before half-time in one of the games. And it's kind of one of those things, Gareth, where anything that could go wrong in this losing streak is going wrong. And with Eberflus being a defensively minded head coach, that's what cost him his job ultimately. We all talk about that play calling against the Lions, which was horrific. The Bears, believe it or not, were first against the run in the NFL last year. They've dropped to 25th this year. The passing defence has dropped down to 11th. Now, Eric Washington is the third defensive coordinator that the Bears have had in the last 2 seasons. And it'll be interesting to see whether he sticks to the principle that Eberflus has put in. So the Bears run a basic 4-3 zone cover 2 scheme. They shipped out a load of players that didn't fit the scheme when Eberflus came in. And I think a few Bears fans are a bit gutted about that if you look at some of the players they've traded away over the last few years. They prefer a 4-man front. They've got a very heavy zone coverage and, interestingly, minimal blitzing. So they don't blitz very often. Now, that normally is a good thing for a 49ers team. But Brock Purdy actually plays better against the blitz. So when I was reading this, Gareth, I was like, oh, man, can they not blitz a bit more? But it's not something the Bears do. They spend around 20 to 30% of their time in a 3 linebacker base formation. The other 70 to 80% is more a nickel package. And like I said, despite Eberflus going, they run a cover 2, but they've introduced more single high safety sets about 60% of the time, which is the 5th most in the NFL. They stay in zone about 70% of the snaps. And like I said, the blitz rate is 23rd overall. Now, the overall strategy of this Bears scheme is to sit back, allow offences short options while taking away the big play. Now, where have we heard the bend but not break strategy before, chaps? Do you want to leap in at this point? Because I was quite interested when I saw that on all the Bears content creators I've been plugged into this week. They're very proud of that bend but not break. And that reminded me of us, but obviously not this year. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for us. I mean, you have a look at where their weaknesses are, or not just necessarily weaknesses, but their whole approach to defence, allowing the short options. Obviously, we haven't been the yak team this year, but we do have the personnel on the team to be the yak team. So short passes and then yards after the catch, that'll suit us down to the ground. And the Bears, over the last 6 games have averaged 100, giving up 151 yards to the run. And essentially, we can go back to being a run team. I know we've been more pass heavy than run heavy this year, but I would imagine that we can attack that weakness of the Bears. So we've got the personnel. I mean, Guerrero, obviously, I've turned around at the start of the season. You can never ever hear Guerrero's name mentioned without the words after being is stopped at the line of scrimmage. He has come on. He's getting better at actually identifying the gap. Obviously, he's going to need to step up big time. But to be honest, I think Patrick Taylor might see a lot more of the ball than Guerrero does. And
has he been elevated from the Patrick's?
Yeah, he's been elevated from the practice squad.
Sure.
And at the start of the season, we actually turned around and said he looked better than Jordan Mason when Jordan Mason was in. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do that. But I think the short passes will suit Brock down to the ground. I think the run, the fact that we can run on them, is going to suit us down to the ground, because if we can establish the run, that's going to bring the passes on. And to be honest, how often do we hit that long ball, that deep ball? Not very often at all. So they're trying to eliminate the big players that we don't particularly do. So they are eliminating nothing from the 49ers offense, essentially.
Yeah. I think they're a bit... Yeah, go on, Gareth.
But that's a disappointing part of our offense that opened up last year. Was Brock attacking 20 yards down the field, that we seem to do at least once or twice a game. He'd complete a deep pass. And Shanahan seems to have forgotten about it. I think that's my concern of this is not back to our opponent's defences. It's our OC and what we're going to do now that we definitely don't have McCaffrey. Maybe it's going to be a good thing. Maybe we're going to go back to the offense that we had in the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, where it was Guerrero and Mason at the time getting the yardage, and we looked a bit more like ourselves. I think there's an opportunity there, I think, to go back to some basics, so long as Shanahan trusts Guerrero and Taylor to shoulder that run game, and he doesn't try and outthink himself and do something strange like I'm going to attack deep down the middle of the field all game or something like that. I don't know how that's going to pan out, because we do seem to be struggling for our offensive identity. Part of that, obviously, is the injuries to people like CMC, but I'm just interested to see what we do, because, like you, Paul, Lee, I would love to see Guerrero and Taylor as a bit of a two-headed monster getting the battering, both in the backfield. No one quite sure which one of them's going to get the ball, if any. Is there going to be a little bit of Guerrero being used in the pass game, at least as the sort of safety valve? I'd love to see it, but I don't have a lot of confidence that that's what we'll see. Paul?
I mean, no, I was going to say the other thing that gives me confidence, Lee, is you've seen the same stats that I've saw, because I was chuckling at that, because the DVOA ranking, they sit 30th against the run. So what I was going to finish off my summary with is I think we could see 2021 Deebo Samuel, but I'll get onto that in a moment. The biggest issue that this Bears defense has, everyone, other than defending the run, is the pass rush. They're just not sending the pass rush. They've got 30 sacks on the season. And you all know if you're not putting pressure on that quarterback, and then if you can't stop the run, add that together, it's not great. And all I was going to finish off with, to summarise, this is a cover 2 zone defence that struggles against the run. Kyle Shanahan, if this was ever a game where you could get into that bag of tricks, and as I've just said, 2021 Deebo Samuel, please can we have some more screen passes and you take it 83 yards to the house? Because I remember that play when I was preparing. But I think the issue we have is the red zone efficiency we've talked about on the other side. The 49ers offense sits 27th in the NFL at the moment with a 48% conversion rate. It's just not good enough for this team, for this play caller. And as Lee has said, the OC hasn't been very good recently. So hopefully, everybody, this is where Kyle Shanahan comes back. And believe it or not, some Bears fans are still wanting to trade for Kyle Shanahan, which is a total new rabbit hole that we could go down. And I know we're trying to keep it short, but just be careful what you wish for, faithful. Because this week, in Bears content creating land, they've been talking about trading for our head coach. So who knows? We could have been having a whole different conversation. But I've digressed. That is the Bears defense, Gareth.
So interestingly, they have actually moved away from cover 2 to some extent. So Washington's introduced the single high safety sets on 60% of the players. So they're generally playing a cover 1, which might play into our hands as well, because Brock's going to have to hit the outside receiver. And I think he's very good at doing that and keeping it away from the defender and putting it in a place where only our receiver can get the ball. And I think both Pearsall and John Jennings are very good at pulling in those types of throws.
So if they get targeted, because it's say we've got Jacob Cowan, but I said at the start, they still run cover 2, but it is that single high safety set about 60% of the time, which Washington's introduced. It was a weird one because Eberflus was the head coach, but he's a defensive-minded head coach. Washington was brought in to be the play caller because he did well as a defensive line coach at the Bills. And it's kind of been interesting to see where the philosophy goes, because I know the GM at the Bears backed Eberflus. Like I said, he brought in set players to go. It was more the 4-3 scheme that he really wanted to introduce, which was totally different to what the Bears had ran. So it is interesting. I mean, we haven't talked names of defensive players. I mean, the cornerback Johnson is one that stood out on the game tape when I've been watching it. Obviously, Montez Sweat, he was one that they traded for. But other than that, this defense, they're not as bad as the results would say, Gareth, but equally, it's not something that if we were firing on all cylinders, everyone was healthy. I'd like to see a Debo game. I'd like to see a George Kittle game. I'd like to see Isaac Guerrero. And heaven forbid that new running back we've brought in has a good game, because there's not a chance I'm pronouncing his name. And I was hoping Lee or you, Gareth, would be able to pronounce his name.
Yeah, it's Keyshawn Vaughn.
No, there's another one. There's a lad this
Israel Akimbamba, was it?
Easy for you to say, Gareth.
I must have missed that. I thought we signed Keyshawn Vaughn.
No, we've signed. I think we've claimed him off the Jets practice squad, and he believed he was going to be drafted by the Niners, I think, in 2022. But his first name, I've had a bash at Gareth, but his surname, I'm not quite ready for that yet. That said, bold prediction: if he scores 3 touchdowns on Monday night show, I will make a concerted effort to get his name spot on, Gareth.
Well, we will see. We will see if he even suits up. I think Brock could do with a good game. He struggled in the last couple in the bad weather. I think he could do with just taking the team and dragging it forward, making some of those passes that unfortunately some of his receivers were dropping. I think he'll be going to Kittle. The bizarre Buffalo game where Kittle got the first pass and then seemed to be forgotten about, but we've seen that before. And Purcell just seems to have been forgotten about entirely since the bye week.
I don't want to see Brock passing the ball. I want this team to run the ball, because you look at their passing defense is ranked 11th in the league. The rush defense is 25th. Go back to Kyle Shanahan football. Run the ball. Mix in some play action. Incorporate the screens, the layups, all that kind of stuff that we've seen. That some people argue, Gareth, what he did for Jimmy G, where he made the game easier. And now he's got Brock under centre. He's kind of got this shiny quarterback that can do it all. But it doesn't need that for this game. We need to run the ball. We need to see some more play action. That's what I want to see, Gareth.
Well, I mean, not necessarily a huge game from Purdy, but one where, he's more like 75% completion, maybe a couple of 100 yards, a TD or two, and just that good in command, faultless performance from Purdy, because he hasn't been great.
Yeah, you're right.
In the last few games, no one has. The whole offense has been out. I'm not putting it on him. But I think if the offense is a reflection of the quarterback, and the quarterback is a reflection of the offense.
No, I agree.
So
I agree.
I would love to see him have a good, efficient game and make some of those deep passes. I'd like to see just one to remind me what they were like, because they looked good last season. We enjoyed them, and they've been sorely missing. Anything else on the Bears' defense, or indeed our offense?
Just want Purdy to play like Josh Allen last week. 17 passes, no turnovers, and let us run the ball 38 to 40 times. That's what I want to see.
I think you don't hold your breath for that one. Right then, the betting lines. The Niners are 4-point favourites, and the over-under is 44. So that tees us up for some score predictions. And Lee has almost certainly got the graphic because I think he is still at the top. He hasn't. That's shocking. And we've had no prediction from Nadgy.
I wish that was the case.
Is it not?
Right. It won't be long.
Someone has usurped your crown.
He has that saved in his favourite. It's bookmarked. It's his background on his computer, everybody. Don't be fooled by this. He's just hamping it up, Gareth. He's just hamping it up. While he's waiting for that, I would have loved to hear your Nadgy's thoughts on Williams, because I don't do a lot of college football, and I know on the Discord in particular, Nadgy and them have a college chat that I've muted, but it would have been interesting to see what Nadgy's thoughts would be. So maybe he can give us a bit of that next week when he's back.
Well, we'll get a chance to see Williams up close, won't we? So
here it is for everybody listening. We've got the score prediction on the screen.
So who is top at the moment then? It's still Lee. What a surprise.
Well, I'm top of the four of us.
Yeah, well, that's all that matters.
That's the only people competing for the trophy, Lee. The others are just participating for the fun of it.
Yeah. What's that? 4-point gap. 4-point lead. Happy with that compared to where I was at the start of the season. Okay then, so me to go first. So no dirty points this week. I'm going for a 49ers win. And I'm going to go 30. 30. What am I going to go?
You're more confident than me. Bloody hell.
30-17. There you go.
Me next, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah, I can only see this being another bum squeaker. I've got a Niners win, though. I'm back to clean points. 24-21.
Interesting, Gareth. So I wasn't sure which way Gowland was going. Now, I will say, Lee, I have the Bears scoring 17 points. So that's going to be interesting. I'm sticking to that. But I have the Niners winning this one 23-17. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as you've got it. But there we go. And I don't think we've got one from Nadgy yet, have we, Gareth? I think we'll have to wait for
not yet
to drop his.
Yeah.
So unless he's predicting that 50 burger, because it's happened before in this fixture.
Could be.
Yeah, there's no such thing as dirty points. We said it on the last show. So do what you feel like you need to do. That's all I'm going to say, people.
Dirty points count the same as clean points in a mathematical sense, just not morally.
This should count double.
You're already top, Lee. You don't need to put it those straws.
It's too easy to pick the 49ers to win.
It is.
But at least it was until we got drubbed the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. What are we, 5-7? So some boldies then. Something on the offensive side. I think this could be Kittle game. I think I'm going to say 2 TDs and 100 yards for Kittle.
Nice. What about you, Lee? Have you got anything for the offensive side?
So I think it's actually going to be a Joan Jennings game. So I can see him doing 120 plus yards and 2 touchdowns.
Interesting.
Love to see.
Well, I believe it's going to be an Isaac Guerrero game, and I believe he's going to score 2 rushing touchdowns, and he's going to get 150 yards on the ground. And to give an extra one, I think Debo is going to be used more in the running game than the passing game. I think Kyle's going to mix in Debo and Guerrero as that 2-headed monster.
So that's
I really hope not.
One carry and no receptions then might satisfy that.
Well, it'll be bold, won't it, Gareth?
Defensive. What have you got on the Niners D?
Right, this might be really bold, this one. I'm actually going to go for 2 sacks for Evan Anderson.
That's bold. That's quite bold. I like that. Yeah, that's nice. I think we're gonna pick him off twice. Demo is definitely hungry for this one. I think he's going to get it, but I also think Huff is going to get one with his club fist and somehow manage to pull the ball out of the air with only 1.5 hands.
Interesting. So you both had similar
Yeah.
thought process to me. I had 3 sacks on the day, and I had 3 interceptions, which I thought was bold, given he hasn't turned the ball
bold.
over. But I had one by Nadgy's good friend Campbell. I'm going to stick my neck on the line. Campbell's going to get an interception.
Family Guy.
It's going to be a knocked ball in the air. It's going to be a massive scramble. He's going to pull it down, and discord is going to erupt, and everyone will be like, that man as a family will become a positive gift and not one for a negative play. We're going bold.
Could you imagine if he has an 80-yard pick six?
It would be epic. It would be epic, Lee. But I mean, to be fair, the way the season's gone, it's got a little bit more difficult to do these because we haven't been playing so well, and I didn't want to be too over the top. But yeah, there we are.
I'm going to stick my neck out here. Special teams. Debo's going to get a return touchdown.
That'd be pretty epic.
It seems like he's coming. It's been his most
on the
effective this season. Because obviously there was the big return that was brought back, and he's had a couple of 30, 40-yard returns. And I think that's just that. You beat that last guy and you're gone. So, come on. We've got to have
another
something
offensive one then.
Positive.
As well as Juwan Jennings having a 120 plus 2 touchdown game, I think Ricky Pearsall is going to have a 100-yard game and 2 touchdowns.
See, it
doesn't fit my scoreline, but that's what I'm going for.
I was going to say, I try to keep mine within my scoreline.
4 TDs and a safety, it's fine.
So I went with 30. It means we would have to get a safety.
Yeah, or miss an extra point and get a field goal instead. It's perfectly doable, Lee.
Yeah.
I still maintain my bold stance that I would like to see Brock throw 15 to 17 times and us run the ball. I want us to go old school 49ers football. That's what I want to see. But it'll be interesting if we win 23 to 17, or we're winning 23 to 17, and I'll be in the Gowland role. We'll be pushing up last minute. I'll be thinking, oh God, if we score a touchdown here now, Lee will erupt. But it'll be worth it for a Niners win at that scoreline. Yeah. And I don't know, before we finish off, if you saw Kyle Shanahan has dropped another golden nugget of a quote. So when he was asked if Nick Bosa would be available this week, his first reply was, I'm not God. I don't know whether he'll be playing this week. So I thought, given on that whole, wasn't it, we don't know if we'll be alive or not a few years ago. I thought, I wonder which reporter asked him that question. I wonder why he got such a strange response.
He is just trolling Kentish man, isn't he? So and that's fine by us. Anyway, thank you, gents. I think we shall wrap this up unless you have any final thoughts.
Nothing from me.
No, well, I saw a quote from someone in the group and I liked it. Always repping, even when we're 5-7. So I do like that we've all turned up for the show tonight. We've all got our Niners gear on. It's getting close to Christmas, so I'm sure you've all got Niners gear on your wish list. The season hasn't gone how we'd hoped, Lee. But as you said, win on Sunday and we're back, baby. That's the message people are going to be saying.
I've got a Colts jersey on my Christmas list.
Oh, Colts jersey.
Yeah, Mr. Womack, obviously. yeah. A big loss. That's why you really don't like Sorensen, isn't it? You know he had a hand in ditching Sammy.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. Anyway, I don't think we've got any PSAs, have we?
9:25 game. We're not on Sky. We will be switching the wall off. There's the reaction wall and Discord. There will be the game day thread on Discord, which I'm looking forward to this week. With it not being a really late game, I think I'll be engaging more this week.
And hopefully I think cheery and positive.
Sorry, Gareth. One thing, it's not a PSA. Just want to say to Dave Berridge, who's actually out there, he's flying out today. He should be landing in the next 4 or 5 hours.
His flight was delayed, wasn't it?
Was it?
Did you not see on Twitter?
See that. No, yeah. I didn't see that. But he's going to be out there for the Bears game this week and then the Dolphins game. Both the Rams and the Dolphins game, I don't think he comes back until the 23rd. So he's out there for a while.
Mm.
Yeah, he was supposed to fly.
Hope he enjoys it.
He was supposed to fly 8 this morning, and then he tweeted me earlier. He'd been at Heathrow since 8. The plane was due to go at 4, and then it had been delayed. He was hoping to get away at 4:30. Now, he hasn't replied to me, Lee, so I'm hoping that means he's en route, but it's always good to see the faithful. Dave, I know you'll be listening. Fly that flag. Plenty of pictures, buddy. And yeah, Gareth, I think when we win on Sunday, we'll be having a victory Monday. Nadgy will be back. The vibes will be back. It'll all be great, everybody.
I hope so. It's been a tough couple of weeks, hasn't it? So
Yeah, I mean, on that note as such, we didn't do a live on Wednesday because, as you said, life gets in the way sometimes. Pesky jobs,
particularly December.
family, Christmas. But with us being the Thursday night football next week, we're going to do the live and the preview show mixed in. So you get to come and join the chaos again, Gareth. That is the Wednesday preview show. So that'll be good
I'll
laugh.
look forward to that. Look forward to that. Thank you, gents. It has been a pleasure as always, and thank you to everyone who listens and watches the show. So yeah, Bears 9:25 on Sunday. Discord is there. Facebook posts will be off until Eric's review thread. It's a chance to get back to winning ways. We need it for the December running, but after all, it is the hope that kills us. And I don't mean you, Paul. But stay warm and dry. Watch out for the storm this weekend, and go Niners.
Go Niners.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, D. Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99.